It's 10:02. I am 2 minutes late. In my defense, I was untangling a necklace, but I just want to make sure this is streaming on the YouTubes and for people to show up. And we are streaming. Yay! Anyways, welcome. Excuse me. So yeah, welcome to our Saturday night Occult Insomniac live stream. Don't forget to click like and subscribe if you haven't already. Um, Unlike the previous weeks, I actually wrote down a couple things to talk about. I'm good at speaking extemporaneously, but sometimes I'm like, eh. Anyways. So welcome, Seti. I realized that I can talk and I don't have to type into chat to hi Cat to respond to people. Yay! I know what I'm doing here. Hi Bonnie. Yeah, so I just a couple website things. I've been in the lengthy process, hi Xander, of transferring all of my products from Squarespace e-commerce to my Shopify, and because of all the issues I had with like the Poison Path products in the past, I had to move to a third-party payment processor, and I finally have gotten through that entire process, which was a bit much, including they had to send an inspector out to my house to make sure that I am doing an actual business here and stuff like that. So, which was a very strange thing, but yeah, it was fine. So so at least that part is, I've got the third party payment processing, like it's official. I just have to, once I get through doing some maintenance work on my Shopify part of it, because I did import the majority of my catalog imported fine. I just have to kind of go into the listings and tweak stuff here and there. There's a couple things that glitched, and get that set up. And then once I get through that, I also have to re-add a lot of the it's flying ointments and stuff like that. But the good news is with this third-party payment processing, I won't be running into any issues with what the issues I've been running into with other platforms and things like that. I don't think I should have any issues with my Shopify, because usually any of those things are coming through the payment processors. Because I know when I had used my Shopify like maybe 4 years ago when I first started, 4 or 5 years ago when I first started out, and like I had some issues with certain things that I was selling even then. And it was like, oh, well, you can move to a third party payment processor, but for now you can't do this. And that's when I started learning some of the weird, oh, thanks, Bonnie. My glasses. Depending on the way I tilt my head, I get like nice, ring light moonbeams. But yeah, so I shouldn't have any issues there. I would like to at least have some of the ingredients online, but just trying that might come later, because I actually had gone through. Actually, it's kind of hit or miss right now, because like on Amazon, I don't have my ingredients on there because they have so many weird restrictions. Like I've mentioned before, couldn't convince them a perfume that used opium fragrance oil didn't actually have heroin in it, but I digress. So hopefully once I get through this whole process with getting everything on my Shopify, that, I should be able to launch everything. I'm optimistic sometime in May, just because, I have a pretty extensive product catalog, and kind of going through and cleaning up some of the product descriptions and adding in where I've done like videos on things, adding that in. So I'm excited though. Sorry, let me look back here because I saw some comments coming through. That was just a quick little update on that aspect. So yeah, I've definitely had a lot of BS to deal with as far as all these hoops to go through. Kat said, I watched your video about Beelzebub, and when you mentioned People Are People by Depeche Mode, I listened to it on repeat. Yeah, it's a great song. Hi, Catherine. Yeah, I've overcome a lot in my life, that's for sure. I've seen some shit, as it were. So I'm going to be sipping on my gigantic ass fruit smoothie. But yeah, so if anyone has questions or things they want to would like me to talk about, let me know. I do have, as I said, I prepared and made a list. Actually, this is kind of a list of some videos that I'm gonna be doing. But one of the things I think probably I might do this as the next accessibility magic series video. I was thinking about. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of mind mapping. It's kind of a way, like I came upon it and when I was doing a lot more project management. It's sort of almost kind of like flowcharty in a way, and could be maybe not so much of you could do a vision board version of it, but like I was thinking of it for spell work, that it way in kind of organizing your thoughts around it, because like one of the things I realized that I think it's kind of, I don't know, I chalk it up into my neurospicy superpowers, and it's sort of like when I look at something, I have this ability to kind of like, I have the internal functioning of the mind map. So it's like I can kind of come up with, what's the initial thing? What's okay, so it's, I need money. Okay, well, what areas do you need money in? Okay, well, what do you need to do in each one? And you kind of branch it out from there. What are the challenges you're gonna, so I can look at a situation and be like, this will work, this will work, this will work, that won't work, this will work, that's too far reaching. You've got to do this, 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 and this before you can get to that. So it's kind of teaching people a little bit of a different approach to doing doing spell work. Because sometimes you just want to throw everything all at once. And what really needs to happen is kind of like a multi-layered approach. Because doing a blanket thing is maybe not the best approach to doing it. I mean, it's a little bit of I can overanalyze and be analytic, but I think it's a good way to break down, your the type of spells and rituals you're doing to really get a clear. Because sometimes when people are like, well, why isn't this spell working? There's a little thingy they've missed there, that if they kind of like mind mapped it out, they might see like, oh, okay, I've got to go over this hurdle before I can get to these things here. That's what's blocking the road and not working. So you might want to focus something on maybe not the macro, but the micro of it. So yes, I am a Gemini. Good uses for Dittany of Crete. That is one I know I've used it associated with Hecate. Did a couple incense blends I make. It's good for like spirit communication. I think that was one. Seriously, Kat? I swear to God, Moon like barfs every time she eats. Oh no, wait, Corey's barfing this time. Yay, everyone's barfing. And anywho, as I was saying, Dittany of Crete, I think, if I'm not mistaken, was I feel like it has like it was used at the Oracle of Delphi, if you've heard of that. Yeah, Dittany of Crete, like if you're doing any kind of like smoke scrying would be amazing for that. Um yes, Tesla. I did a live stream with DH a few weeks ago. Yeah, you could use that for like smoke scrying or incense when you're doing like any kind of like like using like the Ouija board or tarot, any kind of divination. It's really amazing for that. It's not easy to come by. Like there's not a lot of places that carry it. Like I usually have to kind of like I don't think any of my regular like wholesale herb suppliers carry it. Like I usually have to go onto Amazon or Etsy and find something. Yeah, I've gotten it on Etsy before. That's a good question, Seti. What do I think about magicians who smoke, drink a lot, but claim to have worked with 10 powerful demon entities? Wouldn't harmful substances be alchemized out through their lessons? Hi, Belle. That's a good question. Wouldn't harmful substances be alchemized out through their lessons? Well, if they're actually learning any lessons, then yes. But in a lot of cases, when you see people kind of spinning their wheels through the same bullshit they've been spinning their wheels through for years on end, I mean, I think you can tell the people who are the real deal and that are actually evolving spiritually because you'll see them doing that. You'll actually see a progress in how they're thinking, how their lives are going, and stuff like that. And most of them are just kind of spiraling through the same chaotic nonsense they've been spiraling through. I have, I kind of have, while I'm someone who partakes and I'm very much, into entheogenic herbs and plant medicine and things like that, and consciousness expanding experiences, not something you want to do every day. And I know all too well that addiction is a motherfucker. So let me scroll back here. Yes, I am a Gemini. I think I've heard Disturbed Sound of Silence before. What's in the smoothie? A mix of tropical fruit, some cranberries, dark cherries. I think it was pineapples, peaches, and strawberries, and also the last of my passion fruit, and some diet cranberry pomegranate juice. My moon and rising sign are both Pisces. Yeah, I mean, we going back to the question, what Bonnie was saying, it's like, we all go through rough patches and stuff like that in our lives. It's just kind of like, is your life a continual rough patch? I mean, I've been there. It's kind of like, what are you doing to get out of it, though? We all struggle. It's part of the human condition. It's are you learning any lessons in that, or are you just continuing to do the same thing over and over again? That would be a thing. I do sometimes use pendulums. I have them right here. Do I have my cool ass pendulum board? I have a cool pendulum board somewhere. Oh, I think I can get to it. There we go. Yes, I have a really cool pendulum board. I like it because it also, rather than just yes and no, it also says wait, rephrase, now, and maybe. It's just like a wood etched board. I think I got it through Zen and Meow on Etsy. They have a lot of different types. I actually get some of my crystal grid um, stuff from there too. And I have two pendulums I use. This is my primary one, and it has, I don't know if you can see it, it's got a piece of moldavite, and these are all faceted Herkimer diamonds in it. And it's just like, it opens up and you can put whatever, provided they fit through the little hole, stones in it. And I have, this is a resin one, and it has some aconite in it. Those are the two I use. And I also, on occasion, will use dowsing rods. I forget, I know I got these on Etsy somewhere. These are actually pretty cool. They have some nice beads on it and stuff, and they're currently going crazy because I'm not holding them very still. But I also use dowsing rods as well. Yes, Eddie says, I've just been watching a few people who smoke and drink during every stream nonstop while claiming to have gone through gates, gods, gained so much power. Well, I can tell you one thing from my history of drug use and being married to an alcoholic and addict. Your reality can warp pretty fast if that is your life every day. Like, I know when I do, please stop eating plastic. No, put that down. My cats are always trying to eat plastic. I don't know why. Corey, why don't you come here, buddy? Like, I know that when I do like one of my ketamine treatments, like I do them maybe once or twice a month, not every freaking day. So you're going to get more out of it in that sense. Like, after a while, it's almost like you become spiritually numb to it. Like, it just doesn't have the same effect on it. And certain drugs can also make you more, certain drugs can be more hallucinatory in a sense that there's no no kind of dividing out what's the actual spiritual experience versus seeing Scooby-Doo on your front lawn. I am skeptical, and I am one that is like all things in balance. And if they're drinking and drugs and all that and smoking is not in balance, that probably says a lot more. Like, I mean, look at me, my badass fruit smoothie. Yeah. I still vape on occasion, but not as much as I used to. But, I know some people, if they have social anxiety and stuff like that, might need a crutch of smoking a cigarette if they're doing something. But more often than not, you're just seeing the people as they are, and that's what they do, and that's how they are. Sorry, I'm missing some of the questions here. Da, 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 da. Have I tried to create a key mantra for people invited to astral meetings? I haven't done that yet. I do have one for I do have one that I use for my servitor, but that's probably a little different. Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, Xander, that's when you started in Path, it's been one long rough patch, but also the benefits and growth have been phenomenal. Yeah, it's kind of finding the balance between the two. It's definitely, this helps when you're in a rough patch in a way. Having that. Tesla asked, did ever used an L rod to investigate locations? According to another, I have not. As that, I have not. Yeah, I quit smoking cigarettes after a brief lapse in 2015, but I had stopped smoking for a few years before then. I was just going through a rough patch and started smoking again, and for like a couple months, and then I switched to vaping. So I've been vaping since then. But even now I don't vape as much as I used to. Like I used to at least change my batteries and fill the tank once a day. Now I maybe change the batteries twice a week. And I can't I just filled the tank a little bit the other day, but I think I've been doing it a lot less. How can you start astral project, lucid dream, and is there a difference between them? Um Yeah, lucid. It's hard to explain the difference between them. I mean, they're related, but they're also different. Like you're kind of looking at different layers of consciousness in that sense, where you have kind of, you know, the deep meditation, meditative states. It also has to do with your brain waves, like they talk about, like the theta waves, or the slowing kind of everything down. So that's one part of it. But lucid dreaming, I think, would be more of a having cognizance and control over when you're dreaming, if that makes sense. Whereas astral projecting is kind of, you're going out of body and you've still got a level of consciousness. You're not technically like asleep like you would be if you're doing kind of dream work in that way. I think it's all kind of interconnected. There was something I read a few years ago. It was in some like science journal, but it was about the it had to do with neuroscience, but it was, brain studies that show that basically kind of like the multiverse in a sense exists within our neural pathways. So it's just kind of like which way do you go from each, down each neural pathway, if that makes sense. I'd have to find the article to explain it better, but do you also create servitors with the energy of daemons? I actually just started working with servitors. This one probably has a little bit of demonic energy with it, but it's its own kind of standalone thing. I did a video recently on creating servitors. If you're interested in that, kind of gives you the step-by-step process of how to do it. Oh, thank you. I see much more grounded, in control, etc., where they seem to be chaotic, but I know chaos can be positive too. Yeah, I mean, I definitely can be chaotic. Hey, Lily Lucy. But it's the thing I've learned, and I've been stressing it probably since I started this channel. It's just finding balance in things. And it's like you can tell a lot of people who, especially on the left-hand path, who practice black magic, is they're not doing any grounding, they're not doing any energy work and spiritual hygiene and maintenance to kind of clear that stuff out. So it's kind of like, if all you're doing all day is throwing curses and doing drugs and smoking and drinking, you're pretty much going to be walking around with like the chaotic energy of Pigpen from like, was it I almost called it Snoopy Brown, Charlie Brown. So, that's what I kind of see when I see those people, is they're kind of walking around with that like dust cloud of crud following them. Do you use pathworking, whether with demons or other archetypes? I have. I don't. I mean, initially, maybe about 3 years ago, I started pathworking. I probably did the majority of it with like Lilith and Lucifer. Well, that's not. Last year I did a lot with Santa Muerte, but I think, it's finding whatever modality works for you. And I have that lovely neurospicy hyperfixation. So I tend to be like, I probably path work every single thing I do. It's not just that I need one book on crystals. I need every book on crystals. And I can't wait to read this one. It's The Curious Lore of Precious Stones, the essential source for gemstone lore. Fun fact, you know why bloodstone is called bloodstone? Because if you put it on like a cut and you're bleeding, it stops it from bleeding, apparently. This book was actually written probably about 100 years ago. I want to say like 19. When was this originally written? Like maybe 1919 or something, or 1911, 1913. I was close. So, yeah, I love to. I'm a big nerd. I like to read, and I just knocked over a pile of books, but I've got books everywhere. Yeah, Reiki. If you're carrying a lot, it can really release so much. Like any kind of energy healing that you have done. There's a local place I go for like shamanic healing, and the last time I did it, I did a bunch of acupuncture on like my back, on my like neck and like upper back, because he's like, you're just carrying so much that really doesn't belong to you at this point. So just, you need to let that go. So, but yeah, it can be. Outside of medicine, doctors, mundane things like self-care, what magical methods do you think are the most transformational for overcoming addiction, healing, and becoming powerful? I think it's just really finding the things that work for you. Like I found that working with Reiki and crystal energy for me really helped me with a lot of healing and staying grounded and stuff like that. And all of those can, uh, like amethyst is really an amazing stone to work with for overcoming addictions. Um, that's in the crystal world. It's like the 12-step stone. So that's one that I think is really powerful. Doing a lot of shadow work, even more so. I find what's helpful is with doing shadow work is it kind of also reveals what you need to do in the self-love and self-care work to kind of balance that. So, big question. Do you think it would hurt to have Lilith and Hecate on the same altar? I've been working with the Queen of Hell, but have heard Lilith likes her own space. Well, Lilith is currently residing on my Dark Goddess altar with everything from Hecate, Astarte, Medusa, Pombagira, possibly, let's see what else I got there. Nama. I've got statues and candles for things. The Virgin Mary in the corner. And also next to the Morrigan. The Morrigan, I think, likes her own space, and very messy altars. But yeah, I've never had any problems with that. I just kind of have my Dark Goddess representation all in one place. Yeah, I mean, it really depends on your working relationship with some of them, um, and where you are in your spiritual growth and journey, and how you're working with them. Some will, like Lilith has always been like, for me, was sort of like the one, like she's sort of an intermediary. It's like if you want to meet another entity, ask Lilith and she'll take you to them. I think I started working with Lucifer through Lilith. Um, but that's just me. What do I think of doing magic with incubus or succubus? I have not actually worked with incubus or succubus magic. I think that's one of those areas you really have to be careful with, because I've heard positive things and I've heard not positive things about it. So it would depend on what your needs are from that. And also too, like considering the somewhat sexual nature of both. If you're in a relationship with someone, a human someone, kind of there's some things that probably need to be negotiated and navigated through that as well. Yeah, I agree with that Seti, that the most gods tend to get along as well as you're giving them respect, or that is the way it has been. Yeah. Yeah, Lilith has been very much on sort of like the great awakening for the past few years. She's been coming to a lot of people. I think that she was the first one, and I had come back into magic from a very pragmatic, agnostic, atheist, like decades of being an agnostic atheist. So, yeah, but Lilith was the first one I started working with in there. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm curious. What was 20s Vatsa like as a magician? I have some videos I've done over the years, like sort of my occult origin stories, on my channel somewhere. Well, you have to realize I'm going to be 48 in June, so I was in my 20s a very long time ago, or teen stuff in 20s. So it was a very different world, because a lot of this. Yes, I do agree. Santa Muerte should be on her own altar. Santa Muerte needs her own freaking like room, or like, I don't know. She likes stuff. Yes, yeah. I moved her altar. She has her own altar in in another room. Um, but yeah, Santa Muerte is one that I think likes to be on her own. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so 20 something Jen, like, or even into like high school and stuff, like, I mean, the accessibility to anything magical knowledge was, if you were lucky to live in a place that had a metaphysical store, granted, you were just going to be mostly exposed to New Age stuff and Wicca, and occasionally someone would have a copy of the mass market publications of the Necronomicon and the Satanic Bible, but beyond that, it was really limited. Once the internet came around and stuff, it got a little easier, but even the early days was not. It still was more in person, meeting people, um taking classes if they were offered through a local shop and stuff like that. So have you retreated with Cambians? Not offhand. Belial was the first one I went to when I started out. He spoke while I was in the middle of asking him where I should start, and he said Amamon, but I have not been able to get anywhere that I know of. Yeah, I think I've started. It was like Lilith, Lucifer, and then Belial. Amamon, I don't know. Like it's there's some that kind of do the Lucifer Amamon as the or like Amamon is the dark of whatever what's the word I'm looking for? So like Lucifer's dark side or something like that. I think Amamon is their own separate entity. I think they were just lumped together for marketing purposes. Because I get like an entirely different energy from Amamon than I do from Lucifer. The Jinn and Santa Muerte scare me. Santa Muerte is not bad at all. Like, I mean, I came to her like in the death throes of a really bad like suicidal depression, and I was literally like, just take me, get me out of this mortal coil. But she taught me how to like really you know, get off my ass and start loving myself and life again. And, you know, she also does hold the mirror up and be like, so about that. Lily says, also I have a death goddess that Tiala was not even be able to identify, but she said she had been with me since birth. If I were to book a session, do you think we could figure out who she is? I mean, it's possible. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, when it comes to goddess, like death goddesses and the death current, you know, you're kind of looking, it might be something that just has like literally no name to it. Like I've had similar experiences where like with these primordials and like primordial energies, like things that existed before there were names to give them and stuff like that. So it may just be that it is something of that primordial energy, but that doesn't really necessarily have like a name or identity attached to it. But you know, there can also be things that are you know, there's so many pantheons, and you know, there's so much, for everything that we know, there's so much information that has been lost over the thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Have I ever tapped into the energy of Euronymous? I have not worked with them as right now. Let's see, did I miss anything? Do you find we create our own reality? When I focused on demons, they came through. When I began learning about Egyptian gods, they began using me to talk to others coming up while demons went silent. I mean, I think that's a yes and no question. I mean, it's going to be subjective. Like I feel at times, like I look back. I mean, I was someone who kept, because I'm old and you know, pre-internet existing condition that I am. You know, I kept a lot of journals and did a lot of writing and artwork. Well, also went to art school, but you know, as I've gone back and looked through things that I wrote 30 years ago, I can see where like Lucifer and Abaddon and like the demonic divine have always been with me. They've come through and things I wrote and things I drew and dreams and dream work and my early like, you know, channeling and meditations and stuff like that. And yeah, there were times where I was really drawn to Egyptian stuff back in like the late 90s. And I had found somewhere back then that I wrote that like Sekhmet was one of my patron goddesses, and I wasn't even aware I knew who Sekhmet was. So, then I found out she was pregnant with this. I might have missed part of that, but yeah, that sounds cool. So incredible that to reach Holy Guardian Angel, according to Abramelin, is through the daemons. And even today, with the way people continue to access the same HGA. I mean, with anything, I've been lately taking a deep dive into rereading and reading some of the grimoires and stuff like that I haven't read previously. I need to do I'm familiar with the was it the book of the Sacred Mage of Brommelin, but I haven't really gone through the whole thing entirely. Like I don't really work within the Brommelin magic system. Yeah, I mean, I think there's multiple approaches to anything. Like I'm not sure that there's one surefire way or the one and only way to do anything, to be honest. But oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm not at my crone phase. I'm at my rockin' cougar phase. Oh, hold on. Let's see if I can scroll back. All right. Lyle was one. Also have a death goddess. Sorry. Oh, so let me correct. No, that's not it. Oh, hold on. I may have missed it. Let me switch to the live chat from the top chat, because sometimes it doesn't. Okay, yes. Completely skipped that. So I know my dad did a sex ritual for my conception. My mom later told me that she had a toothache and someone gave her cocaine to numb it. Yeah, cocaine will numb a toothache. And she realized those around her were not right. So she stopped and then found out she was pregnant with my mom. Didn't know anything about the ritual, and dad just started talking about things. That's yeah, I mean it's hard to know what ritual would specifically have done, because I mean there's all types of fertility rituals, and they're going to vary wildly from different culture to different culture. I know the death goddess has something to do with the ritual of sex. Yeah, I mean most goddesses I've noticed, or they're archetypal in a sense. Like you see a lot of goddess of love and goddess of war, or goddess of love and goddess of death um, in the same sort of, I don't know if you want to call it a deific mask, but the same kind of archetype has the kind of polarities to it. So yeah, I mean the death goddess, that would make sense that it would have something to do with that. Um, and that's, I mean, I think if you, I don't want to say maybe like something similar to like a past life regression might be able to help like uncover that, like maybe hypnosis or something. Um, how come you didn't initiate with the tree of life and tree of death? I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I mean, it might be something like I do have some of the, like I have one of the Asimov Mason's Clifothic, I think the Clifothic Meditations book. Um, it's not something I've been particularly drawn to right now. Like I just kind of go with where the universe is pointing me to go. So at some point in time, I'm sure I'll end up there. I just haven't gotten into it at this point. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of pre-crone, Xander. Yeah, you feel comfortable with yourself and don't give a shit, but you kind of become invisible to younger people. Yeah, yeah, it's a thing. I don't know. Being Gen X, we're kind of used to being invisible, so I just kind of roll with it. Um, yeah, I would say, Lily, like if you really want to like go in, like start doing like even just a daily meditation on it, like to really try to see if your guide, like if you have spirit guides you work with, or any of the spirits you work with, might be able to start helping you. Lilith was actually really good for that for me. Like when I first started working with her, she pointed back to a dream I had in January of 2015, after I was recovering from my hysterectomy, and also got sidelined with a really bad flu. So I had the wonderful clusterfuck of fever dreams and opioid dreams all at once. And in this dream, I went to this like demonic underworld, and like I still can visualize what it was like, however many years, 8 years later now. Um, but it was like in this dream, it was revealed to me that I was a ruling class demon in the underworld or something. And I was like, well, that's fucked up, because I was not doing any magic, anything at the time. Um, that was during my late stage agnosticism. So yeah, it was, but she pointed to that and she's like, because when I first started working with her, I was kind of very like a little bit more timid. Like, is it okay if I work with you? Like, is it cool that I'm here in your realm? She's like, you've been here before. Chill. I'm like, huh? And she pointed back to the stream, and then she revealed a lot more stuff to me. And I was able to kind of go in and retrieve some of that information. And that's in a video that I did. I think it's called The Story of a Mama L. I think I probably did it in 2020. All right, let me scroll back here for a minute. Always scrolls back too far. The womb is both death and life cyclically, so it makes sense. Yeah. What do you think about teaching bad people lessons, removing toxic politicians, correcting bigoted behavior through magic? I am all about removing as much toxicity from my life as possible. That's what I've been doing. And we have a visitor. This is Moon. She just wanted to come up and probably find some plastic to eat or sniff candles, because somebody likes to sniff candles. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. See, there's you on the screen, Moon. She's like, I did not sign up for this. So what was I saying? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people. I think I have a book called Black Magic for difficult times or hard times or something like that. There's a lot of people who do magic around, I mean, I hate to say social justice, but like who do big picture magic, whether it's like to influence, like I have a friend that works on stuff having to do with like climate change. But she also does mundane stuff for that too. But anyways, yeah, I think you can definitely do magic to teach people lessons. Mirror spells are good for that. I'm pretty sure all politicians are toxic, and I wouldn't mind seeing them removed, so have at it. Yeah, Xander, I hate when people call me ma'am. I'm like, I'm not that old. Maybe prefer to stay in the lane, but I feel like calling to justice, real change. But I worry it'll end up like Light from the Death. I haven't watched that yet. It's been on my list of things on Netflix for like years. Lily said there were quite a few that came through when Tila did, and I did a custom ritual. Yeah, I did some work with Tila, doing like when she was doing the past life regressions. I don't think she does those anymore. Found 2 parasites and one that was deep on my heart chakra. Yeah, I did. I think I did the shadow work thing with her as well at some point, and I think I had an astral parasite that was attached to my back or something like that. But yeah. Visra said, well, yes, I've watched your view videos. It's amazing how you came to Earth despite your power. Yeah, yeah, I think most people are, I think, I'm trying to think of a good way to put this. I mean, there's people that, that they're like, oh, she's an old soul or something like that. And, I think most people have experienced multiple incarnations, whether they believe in reincarnation or not, or whether they are aware of it or not. Like I started having past life visions when I was a child, so it was something that I always believed. But yeah, like the stuff with the primordials, I mean, that goes back to like, before there was anything, before there was language, before there was the written word, before all of that. Like it's very intense. Yeah, I think a lot of people feel drawn to the Egyptian. I mean, it is a really fascinating. Like, I mean, I find all the early stuff, like the Sumerian, Mesopotamian, Syrian, Canaanite, all that stuff, really fascinating. Hold on. Scroll back because scrolled back too far. Boop a doop. All right. I think, well, one of the things I made, Tesla's asking about, I need recipes to remove uh politicians and stuff. One of the ones that I made, like especially like with I think Seti asked about uh teaching people lessons, is I had made an oil called Belial's Hammer of Justice court case oil. It's good for that sort of thing. Also, the truth spell oil works really well at exposing people's things. Yeah, shadow work is really like, I can't stress enough the importance of shadow work, and you can tell the people who aren't doing shadow work because those are the ones that are probably doing all the drugs and drinking and smoking on their live streams nonstop. Yeah. Do I work with Pazuzu? I have. I don't often though. Um, do you think high-profile people like petitions are protected and targeting them can be dangerous? Um, well, I mean, in any given situation, you're going to have people who are doing stuff for them and doing stuff against them. So it's because there are a lot of activist groups, witchy activist groups that will, you know, hex Putin or whatever on a regular basis. But for just as many people that are doing magic against Putin, they're also doing magic. There's also probably people doing protection magic on Putin and stuff like that. So, the one thing to consider with someone like Putin is, you may not want to, drive someone with their finger on the shiny big button that can make everything go pow pow. But it can have unintended consequences. I don't know. Like, I mean, I think like a lot of people like talk about working with like Archangel Michael for protection. Archangel Michael is going to be protecting like, the Pope and like kings and queens and shit like that. Not, there are, I mean, it's not to say that Archangel Michael wouldn't protect others, but, tends to be a little more high profile from what I understand. Let's see. What I found, though, what ritual I've gone through, the answer has been given, was Prometheus. That's possible. And I think there are some Promethean qualities and overlays to Azazel as well. Oh, no worries, Lily. Okay, psychogenic. Have you had much? I haven't worked with Rosier. I don't really. I mean, there are so many. I mean, just in the Goetia alone, there's 72 demons, and then once you throw into all the other things from all the different grimoires, from biblical lore and all the different pantheons, there's a lot of demons out there. So I kind of work with if someone is coming to me or I feel particularly drawn to working with them, that's usually where that's how I will start working with them. So, or if I have a particular purpose in which that is like the demon I need to work with on that. Yeah, Lily, you can email me. It's Belladonna's Botanicals at Gmail. That just goes to my business Gmail account, and we can figure it out from there. Yeah, I feel that too, Xander. I was very wealthy in a past life, luxurious taste, and I didn't get that for my life or family. Yeah, hard same on that one. Uh, oh yeah, yeah, I agree. Politicians and elites definitely have folks that do magic for them. I mean, I mean, not for nothing. I mean, even like what you consider to be conservative Christian moral values, type what's a mahoozits like I mean Ronald Reagan had they had a regular astrologer in the White House staff. you know what was her name? Was it Jean Dixon? No, it was someone else. I forget. um and there's the JP Morgan, the it was something like millionaires don't use astrologers, billionaires do. So a lot of people work with in that, whether or not they might be espousing good Christian values and whatnot, but they're also kind of working the other side of it as well. um hmm. Oh, thanks, Alyssa. Yeah, Lilith has really been coming through for a lot of people. um So yeah, I'm happy that I love it. To be honest. Yeah, Tesla. I don't do a lot of I don't really do any spell work for clients anymore. I mean, I do like more divination kind of stuff and channeling, some energy work, but Grimory, I may have briefly, because I had to make something for someone for Grimory. Like sometimes too, that's how I will like end up working with a spirit. Even if it's just briefly, is that I'll kind of connect with them when I'm making something for someone. Oh yeah, I don't doubt it, Tesla. I have a book called Russian Black Magic. Um, but yeah, it's there's a lot. It's people's well kept secret. How many soccer moms probably go to get their tarot readings done, but they're the good go to church every Sunday, that sort of thing. Um, so there's acceptable things. And that's why a lot of times you see people doing ritual for hire for non-practitioners that don't work at all in this, because they don't want to get their hands dirty, but they want the stuff done for them, to put it succinctly. Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Seti asked, do you think gods have their own hidden goals? So many thoughts on what they are, from egregores to energies, this and that. That's funny, Bonnie. You have clients that are, yeah, I believe it. I would believe it. And you can't tell me people who go to church every Sunday eating the body of bloody Christ ain't into some weird ritual shit. Just saying. So yeah, to answer Seti's question, do I think gods have their own hidden goals? It's hard to. I mean, it would really depend on. I would say probably some yes, some no. Like egregores are going to be more of like a group think kind of god form projection, from my understanding. You have, I'm trying to think of a good way to explain it, because there's just there's so many different ways to view it. Like, I mean, yes, it's like on a fundamental level, everything is energy. Most things are archetypes, like, but you have to wonder now, going back to when we were a completely disconnected world in prehistoric times, up until literally, the past 100 years, why does every culture around the world have very specific archetypes of gods and goddesses? Why are there things, traditions that come from cultures that probably have had very little cross pollination, but yet very similar practices? Is there some sort of Facebook community for children of Lilith? I have so much questions. That's a good question. I have really been limiting a lot of my time on social media just because the doom scrolling is a thing, and like I just sometimes need to, not be there. Yeah, I mean, the God concept, like a lot of it in like energy work, or I think I was actually having a conversation last night talking, this was Satan last night, talking about sort of the Satan energy and the God energy, and how neither can exist without each other. And that, the God energy is kind of what we call source energy, universal life force energy, more on the, I would say, light energy, but not really. It's a mix of light and dark, as is, the Satan energy as well. When gods are around, they seem to imprint on you. I've noticed we become more like them, or do we simply acknowledge them already in us? Yeah, I mean, I think it's natural to kind of take on aspects, or find the aspects of your personality that kind of coalesce and work well with the aspects of that particular entity. Yeah, I agree, Bonnie. You have to be careful on who you follow on social media. I am very restrictive on like my personal, like I don't really use personal social media outside of Facebook. Like, I think I have a personal Instagram that maybe I post a picture to once or twice a year, or every other year. Um I just like, I kind of view my personal social media as, I'm like, this is my little me space here. It's not my public profile space. I just want to, shout into the void and, comment on people's things if I feel like it. But I'm more restrictive on my personal stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's, I'm trying to think if there's any specific Lilith specific groups. There probably are. I just would vet them first to see what they would be like. So is Satan the sinister aspect of the source? I wouldn't say sinister. Again, it's a balanced. It's like, I'm trying to find the best way to describe this based on, personal gnosis and experiences. It's sort of like, I wish I could kind of project what's in my head with it. It's sort of like an energy source that feeds into itself. So you kind of have that God or source energy, which, let's say, that's kind of blue. And then you have the infernal energy, the Satan energy, which is sort of red. And it kind of like melds into each other, if that makes sense. So I don't think it's necessarily we a lot of what we have thought of when it comes to the Satan form, and stuff like that, that comes from biblical lore, and the whole of you know Christianity, etc., over the thousands of years, is just kind of broke everything off into the binary of good and bad. Let's see, where am I at? When did you know that you were ready to receive deity's message, especially I mean, some I sought out to connect with, and initially, and as I built relationships with them, some of them will just start like coming up for me in a lot of things. Like last year, Santa Muerte just kept coming up and kept coming up. I'm like, okay, I need to work with Santa Muerte this year. So it was something like that. Yeah, Tesla. See, the thing is, I don't like politicians, any of them. I don't really care what side they're on. They're all awful. I mean, it's good money. I would prefer to work with, Hollywood stars in that sense, or someone more innocuous. But Lily says, Alyssa, you'll have to look around and pay attention. Yeah, the signs are everywhere. Um, yeah, and it's sort of like the more spiritually open you become, the more those downloads are kind of going to come to you. Like it'll just be like, boop. All right, there we go. All right, someone's coming through. Boo, boo, boo. Sorry, I'm on my Mac, which is not the most easy thing to. I swear to God, like, why is it so hard to scroll on a Mac laptop? Every time I use my Mac, I'm always like, I don't know how to use a computer. Yeah, group rituals can be hard. I mean, if you're talking about a coven, it's different, but especially with the variety of practices, and also locations in which people are to do group rituals, can be a little, time consuming or taxing. Lilith has a connection to crib death without demonizing her. I think we must also consider the warnings, like how Odin is known to trick people so they join his army. Yeah, I mean, I'm not as familiar with the Norse pantheon, but yeah, that's true. I mean, I think it's kind of like, being aware of things, but also not. Wow, I just completely lost my train of thought. It's being aware of things, but not necessarily dismissing things based on stuff that's in lore, stuff that's in, unverified personal gnosis, other things you've heard from other people, because some people, especially, I mean, if we're talking non-historical, if we're talking about current, the current, a lot of people are full of shit. Yeah, I mean, you can get a good start with tarot and spirit guides, but just progress from there. Um, just keep learning, read a ton of books, watch a lot of videos, and never stop learning. Learn new skills, learn new ways of divination, channeling. Like, I mean, every year I kind of go through, what's the thing I'm going to learn this year. Have I decided on that for this year? Oh, let's see. 2021 was my Reiki year, or yeah, 2021 and 2021 into 22. After I finished Reiki, I went into like crystal healing. So that was a lot of that. So what am I doing this year? Better get on that. I better find something. I usually have like a skill set I acquire each year. Yeah, I feel like this year I've been kind of drawn back to like the grimoires and stuff like that, as I mentioned earlier. Scroll and not lose my place. Yeah, Lilith is very protective. Like I know like a lot of the early like what you hear on the negative side about Lilith. There's there's a couple really excellent YouTube channels that do really in-depth videos on like mythology explained. I think that's one of them. I'd have to look up what they are, but like they go in and really do a lot of like, you know, let's talk about the Watchers and the Book of Enoch and all this, and it's really I found that really helpful to get kind of the historical information. Circus that's on fire. Um, that's also being flooded by a tsunami during a hurricane with tornadoes and a fire dragon. That's the US. So yes, you're absolutely correct, Bonnie. Oh no, yeah, I just was Tesla. I was just saying I don't particularly like. Oh yeah, Black Magic for Dark Times. That's the book I was trying to think of, Xander. And it was something like that. Difficult dark. That was close. Nah. All right. Did it? No, Covens is the case. Russia, they are just wild witches from. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I mean, it's with all things, there's aspects of light and darkness in them, good and bad. No one thing is, perfect light and no one thing is perfect darkness or pure evil or pure darkness. Like even in the world's most awful people, there's probably some glimmer of some good thing they did somewhere. Um it may not make up for all the shitty things they did, but it's hard to just say that anything is, all or nothing. Oh yeah, I need to look into the theta healing more. Yeah, the Lilith and the Crib Death. Yeah, I think like her, Lamash too was another one that was associated with like infant death or miscarriages or things like that. Yeah, Lilith will tear you a new one. Like that's what always cracks me up when I see these freaking, you know, misogynistic incel twerps that like claim to work with Lilith or think Lilith's their sex slave. I'm like, sure she is, buddy. Let me know how that new asshole works out for you once she tears out the current one you have. Oh yeah, like Alyssa, I read probably about 50 books a year on average. Now I started tracking it. That's about what I can. And I, when I'm working, a lot of times I'll put an audiobook on in the background. I'll listen to a podcast. Sometimes I rewatch course videos from the different courses I've taken. If there's something, I'm like, wait, what was that one little nugget of information there? I wanted to, remember. Yeah, you really got to vet your resources and always ask around, if like is this person legit or is this person, you know, full of shit? Yeah, I think Lilith might be a little. Lilith is very sexual, so I would be a little apprehensive of working with Lilith for. If I don't have kids, but if I did, I would be a little, you know, apprehensive about that, just for that section. So, my suggestion is that you start working with Asmodeus and Lilith together. Yeah, I've worked with Asmodeus and Lilith together. I've worked with Lilith and Lucifer together. I love. Um, Yeah, I mean, a lot of people work with Lilith about on vampirism things. Um, D.H. Thorne has a book on I think the Infernal Vampire Handbook. Maybe I can't read my bookshelf from here, even with my glasses. N.D. Blackwood's work is decent. The last book he did, I haven't read all of it, but was it Sholomance? Was pretty good at. I mean, the historical information in it alone on vampirism was really, really, really well done. I mean, granted, it's become a living god publication, so it's freaking expensive. But I haven't read his other one, the Dragadroten one, but I mean, I was actually really impressed with Sholomance. I think Michael W. Ford has one. Honoratu, maybe. That's off the top of my head about people who would work with vampirism. That might be the book I'm thinking of by Michael Ford. Yeah, I mean, Lilith is so much more than just a sex goddess, but yeah, she's great for women's justice issues. She's great for. She's really great if you have like for trauma healing, and like any healing that would be of more of a sexual or relational nature. Yeah, I mean, there's different types. I've heard of Michelle Bellinger. Yeah, there's. I mean, yeah, depending on the type of vampirism. I mean, if you're looking at the sanguinarian vampirism, you know, that's an entirely different aspect. I necessarily wouldn't advocate for that because diseases, y'all. Most of what you see is going to be in the broken up either into energy vampirism, psychic vampirism, or vampirism that takes place in the astral, realm. Um, oh yeah, Lilith works with it, like will empower anyone. I'm just saying that like if you're coming in as a raging abuser and misogynist and general fucktard, you might think Lilith's helping you, but yeah, she works in mysterious ways sometimes, like a brick through a window. Do you or does anyone operate with a Grot Bot Malot? I haven't worked with her, but I'm familiar a little bit with her in that sense. I mean, I guess I kind of just, like I was saying earlier, like I just sort of work with whatever I feel like I'm being pulled to. Like last year, maybe like the last year or so, like I really was feeling a lot of pull to like the underworld. Like maybe not so much the death current per se, but like more underworld deities and goddesses. So, I kind of go from there. And some I work with more intent, you know, for longer periods of times than others. Yeah, I'm still reading Alexander. I'm still reading the Book of Aramon too. I am guilty of being that person that's literally probably reading at any given time. Let's see. I've got the physical books that I'm reading in varying combinations. I've got the, you know, PDF ebooks I'm reading at the same time, and then I have a whole host of audiobooks I'm listening to at the same time. Eventually I finish all of them, but you know. I just today while I was doing some work and organizing in the kitchen, I was listening to the Gospel of Aradia. Like, I mean, Lilith is, for me, I found Lilith really easy to work with, but like, she will really empower you. And like, I found connecting with her through like meditation at first in the astral was really, that was how I really built my relationship with her. And while I'm not 100% a fan of them, but Satan and Sons YouTube channel has a really good guided meditation for Lilith and a lot of the demonic ends chants. But so I sometimes use those, or I have in the past at least. All right, hold on. All right, there we go. All right. Some say Lilith was the first feminist. She wants all minorities to rise in my experience. Yeah, I mean, she's definitely about, you know, empowering those that are being oppressed or dominated by others, for lack of a better description. Yeah, I would say with one of the thing, the lesson I need to learn the most for myself over the years is really trust your intuition. Like if you get like the, you know, if someone's energy is off-putting to you, or you just find something is like hitting some kind of intuitive that you're getting a bad vibe on, trust that. It usually is right. So praying to her a lot, and I've had, yeah, oh yeah, that will happen, Alyssa, when you start working with Lilith. No, we all been there. When we ascend or go live in the infernal, would we ever see Lilith? I believe so. Um, I haven't worked with Yamaya, but yeah, that's interesting. That's true. I mean, Lilith teaches you the lessons you really need to learn the most. You find out that you'll find out the herb that you used for aroman oil is in the book. Yeah, was that the go-to cola one? That yeah, it's so funny when I was talking to Bonnie and Curtis because I sent them a bottle of the aroman oil I made, and I used the go-to cola, and I'm like, I have had this jar of go-to cola for probably 3 or 4 years, and every time I look, I'm like, what the fuck did I buy this for? Finally, I had a use for it for the aroman oil. Yeah, I think I've worked with Nama a little bit. That's interesting. The first N was Baal rather, and he showed up dripping with maggots. I would have expected that from Beelzebub more than Baal. Baal is just always very. Anytime I've worked with Baal, it's just like I feel like I'm being lectured by like a school professor or something, or like a village elder, and I'm in trouble for something. Yeah, because you know what? Every single person when I first came into the left-hand path, every single person that like pricked that little, ooh, I don't know, intuition, turned out to either backstab me or just it was spot on. That's probably Belphegor, Xander. I was actually in Jen's great ideas and discovery, because I don't do a lot of baneful magic, but when I do, I like to sometimes add a little sense of humor to it. I was joking about turning all my toilets into shrines to Belphegor, and having, because they make this dissolvable, this paper that dissolves in water so it wouldn't clog up your system. So, you know, do the poop curse, write the person's name, throw it in the toilet, do your biz, whatnot. But I was also talking about creating a servitor, and that would make people shit themselves upon command if they, you know, it was for people who just annoy me, like my neighbors who, you know, blast shitty music really loud, and anyone who drives by in subwoofer bass. I'm like, I want you to shit the seats of your car. So I actually found on Amazon, I didn't buy it yet, but there's a plushie of the poop emoji that when you squeeze it makes different farting sounds. So I want that to be my servitor for the shit yourself curse. Oh yeah, absolutely, Alyssa. It's very, like, it's good to have people to talk to about that, because sometimes, you know, you're like, okay, well, I'm clearly just making shit up and batshit crazy, and then you talk to someone like, no, yeah, that's what they do. It's a thing. Because I had that when I first started working with Belial and Azazel, and I'm like, dude, why are these guys all like, you know, obsessed with like DNA and shit, and like I felt like they were doing this like psychic surgery, like, oh yeah, that's they're getting rid of your junk DNA kind of thing. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's what Belphegor's the image, if you Google it, it's he's literally on the shitter. Yep. Yes, it does. Yeah, I've had spirits come to me, you know, just in like Paimon was one that just kept like randomly comes to me at times, and I'm like, hey, what's up, bud? I mean, I do work with not a lot. I don't work with angels a lot, but I mean, if I do, I work more with sort of like the fallen angels, but um I'm not opposed to it. Yeah, there's a lot of stigma even within like the new age pagan witchcraft community of people that kind of look down their nose at like the left hand path and black magic. I mean, granted, sometimes I look down my nose at other left hand path and black magic practitioners for just being like, thank you for perpetuating all those negative stereotypes during the middle of the Satanic Panic 2.0. Could you kindly just knock it the fuck off? Do you have a list of books to recommend? I am working on trying to come up with a way to do different like book recommendation slash review series for the channel. I just have to I have to kind of cluster out my books into yes, Bonnie, the LHP stereotypes itself. Yes, it does. Like I would just have to kind of break it out by subject and theme, like here's the grimoire section, here's the books on Lucifer I recommend, here's the shit I don't recommend, or you know, and it's also kind of a little bit hard because I have all my physical books, I've got my digital books, and then I've got my audio books, so it's kind of like I need to just kind of take an inventory and kind of, oh no, my artistic need to organize things just kind of kicked on there. Okay. Yeah, I really like. I have the books. I forget the name of the author and the artist, but the Oracle deck, the Angelarium, Oracle of Emanations. There's actually like a full book for it, like an actual book. And there's a new one that also came out, the Angelarium, the Book of Watchers. Oh, the artwork is phenomenal in that. What do I think of lawless metaphysics? So you remember what I was saying about Belphegor before? That's pretty much what I think. To be, I'm not good at being insincere. It kind of makes my skin crawl. So I'm not entirely like the amount of ritual like chicken sacrifice that's done in the left-hand path is abhorrent. And especially, have you seen how much food fucking costs at this point in time? So like wasting all that on some bullshit, ritual, with a bunch of drunk people. Yeah, I don't know. I have no love lost for some people, but yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. I don't want to say anything that will get me into any, trouble as far as slander, libel, or whatever will go. I just don't like that. Yes, Alyssa, the Angelarium, Oracle of Emanations. Yeah, it's there's a lot of people that I used to work with or be close with that I'm just like, I think I was talking to Bonnie about it earlier today, where it's like there's this point in your spiritual evolution and growth where you hit this point, and it is not the greatest point to be at, but it's very, I'm trying to figure out how to work my way out or through this point. It's where you transcend a lot of, you transcend in a way that you see the truth in everything, and how fucking ugly the world is and people are, and you see the truth in the situations, and all those masks come down. And you're just like, I'm just gonna stay at home and not deal with people. So I feel like for me this year, the masks got ripped off of a lot of my reality, and I just was like, you know what? I'm detoxifying my life, and I jettisoned out. I ended business partnerships and relationships. People I once considered colleagues and friends, I was like, bye-bye. Call me when you get out of rehab. Because I realized how damaging it was to keep subjecting myself to that. And once I got myself out of that toxic spiral, things have been a lot better in my life, and I've been a lot happier. Yeah, I mean, not that I don't eat chicken, but it's kind of like we sit there and think about, like, it is, groceries are so freaking expensive right now, and it's like food waste. Like, I can go to the store and get one little bag of groceries and be like, wow, I just spent $100. It's, yeah, tea is a great offering. I love. My favorite tea in the entire known universe, Amy Blackthorne. She is an author, and she's a lot of amazing books. I highly recommend. She's an amazing person. She's relatively local to me. But her Blackthorn Hoodoo blends, she makes phenomenal teas, and her Florida water tea is like the best tea in the known universe. Yeah, Bonnie, I mean, I think it's like, it's quality versus quantity. It's kind of like, do I need to be friends with everyone just because we're in the same thing? No. And there's a lot of people that are your best friends in the world until you disagree with them, or are friends with someone they don't like, and then suddenly you're the enemy. So, and I just find people like that to be kind of like, Yeah, my high school graduation was 30 years ago this year. I'm over that kind of behavior. Bye-bye. Yeah, I was a vegetarian for a long time. I was a pescatarian, then I was a vegetarian. I could not go vegan because I love my dairy. I it didn't being vegetarian, let alone vegan, doesn't really work for me because I'm terrible. Well, I wouldn't say I'm terrible at cooking. I just don't like cooking, and you really have to kind of be a good cook to make being a vegetarian work, or else you just eat shitty things like, or you just rely on the meat substitute stuff like Morningstar Farm stuff and all that. Oh no, that's fine, Seti. I don't mind. I mean, there's been so much drama over the past 2 years that, or 3 years, I don't know when it started or when it never stops, but the only thing you can really do with the drama like that is just remove yourself from the situation, because those people aren't going to change anytime soon, and um their energy just becomes a drain on your system, even if you're just passively, watching a live streamer or commenting on something. It's just sucking your energy out of the void. And there's a lot of people who are just psychic and energy vamping, the people who are watching their shit. Wow, yeah. Well, yeah, Amy's stuff is pretty well, I mean she handcrafts it and stuff. So it's not like, buying corporate tea that's, $40 a tin, but it's definitely worth it. Yeah, I agree with that, Bonnie. We are past the drama. We just want others to not have to learn the way we did. Yeah, I mean, a lot of what I'm doing is like a count point counterpoint to the bullshit that I see coming out of the occult community, and just like, we guarantee 100% results on all. Really. Hmm. So all those people that you death curse that are still walking around healthy and fine and living a good life, that's part of your 100% guaranteed results. Yeah, about that actually. Hey Eddie. Yeah, I honesty is best always, and even if we aren't honest with ourselves, then we are in a bad way. Yeah, I have that wonderful neurospicy brutal honesty where sometimes I can be a little too honest, or I am the queen of TMI, and I wish I had $1 for every time someone said, "So Jen, tell us how you really feel about that," because I would be really fucking rich. Yeah, I mean it's yeah, people that don't take accountability and stuff. It's dodging red flags like landmines. Uh-huh. I do not have CBD infused products because that is a whole other area of like it adds a layer of complexity and like licensure and legalities in which you can sell your products. Again, that goes into, I would have a little easier time now that I have a third party payment processor, but like most places wouldn't, I wouldn't be able to sell CBD products on, say, Etsy or Amazon or things like that. Like I would only be able to sell them. But what you'll see a lot of times with people who sell CBD products, they have to have an entire separate business and separate website for their CBD products. I mean, you can always add CBD to your stuff when you get them, but I don't sell them that way. Exactly. Like it's magic doesn't always work. But you know, yeah, I mean that's the thing with all those. I mean, and right now a lot of that stuff is wildly variant state to state. Is it recommended to be recreationally inebriated when? I mean, if it were like you can, I wouldn't necessarily say, yeah, you should be. Like, for me, having ADHD, it helps me. Sometimes I need to quiet my mind down, so that's why I'll use like my flying ointments, or something that has a little bit more of a sedative effect for me to kind of get my mind to shut the fuck up. Because I was like, last night, I'm like, I really, I was feeling like this pull to do some work, with the spirit, to like do some channeling or meditation, and I could just not get my brain to shut the fuck up. I'm like, all right, maybe a Valium will help. And then I was asleep. Yeah, I mean, going back to the magic doesn't always work thing. Like, sometimes you have to accept that no is an answer. Like, one of the things I was talking with another colleague about it is you'll see people, we all know, we all get like the same, we share our stories of really weird requests we get. But you'll see someone that'll be like, here's my weird, a common one is like lottery numbers or something like that. People want to get the winning lottery numbers. And they'll go from magician to magician to magician, trying to get someone to do a spell for them to get the lottery numbers. And eventually they'll find someone who'll be like, sure, I'll do that for you. But, did it work? Or did you just waste money on something? Sometimes, and this is where in the beginning of this, I was kind of talking about the mind mapping and looking at the variables of it. Okay, you want to get the winning lotto numbers. Are we talking state or national? What day of the week do you want them for? Which game? Which, there's all these different variables. What store do you want to buy it at? Because, you need to, there's all these different variables that go into that it's kind of like, yeah, I could shout off a bunch of random numbers. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the winning lotto. Yeah, I feel that way too, Eddie. I was thinking of going semi-underground on the occult thing. Well, I can't really go underground as like a business owner, but I think, I'm just carving my own path now. Like, I'm done. Like, I know who my ride or die people are, and I find different doors are opening now that I've closed some of the toxic cesspool doors. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, I agree with that, Bonnie. It's not required, but if you need a wine to relax and that's different. And there are sort of, things that can enhance, the chemognostic kind of, whether it's plants, like if you want to, burn some wormwood and mugwort, while it may not be the greatest smelling thing in the known universe, but that the entheogenic qualities of wormwood and mugwort will help you get into that state. Yeah, I'm working on some more of that, but yeah, I hear that, Sadie. I have a lot of chronic. I need to like write a list of all the shit that's wrong with me, because every time I have to fill out like a medical form, I forget half of it. But yeah, I have chronic insomnia because I have a circadian rhythm disorder, the delayed sleep phase type. So I can try to get to bed before midnight. It just never fucking happens. I will literally just lay there until like 4 a.m. Yeah, I mean, is it possible to, get the winning? I mean, you can do things to boost your luck and something like that. That I could see, but the winning lotto number, I mean, the amount of variables in, random number strings that could potentially be the winning lotto number is going to be, yes, there's a 1 in a whatever statistical chance that you could win that, but it's 1 in a million, because if everyone won the lottery, we wouldn't just have the lottery anymore. sorry, I scrolled back too far. Oh yeah, the cemetorial. It's actually really funny. I think one of the best reviews I saw randomly. I don't check my reviews that often on Etsy, but a while back, someone left a review on my cemetery magic oil, my necromancy oil, and apparently it works really well. This person's a psychic medium who helps cops solve cold cases or something, and she's had a lot of luck with that. So hold on 1 sec. I missed a comment. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that, Eddie. I process medications and alcohol and things so weird that it's sometimes ah crap. What did I do? All right, I'm still here. I swear this using a Mac computer makes me feel like I've never used a computer in my life. I have actually never played the lottery in my entire life. I think it stems back when I was growing up, my father worked for an advertising agency, and the lottery, or the PA lottery, maybe it was a national agency. Because if back in the 80s, if you remember the California raisins, that whole thing, the LA office did that, but like it was a national agency at the time, but like the lottery was one of their clients. So like as a rule of thumb, because you worked, if you're doing marketing research for the lottery and stuff, playing the lottery, you might have, it's kind of like that insider trading on like Wall Street kind of thing. So it just never dawned on me to play the lottery, because I knew my dad couldn't do the lottery stuff. Now my grandparents, on the other hand, always had their little, it's lottery time, and the little lady switching the numbers, and they have their things and whatnot. But they also like to go to Atlantic City and gamble and stuff. I've been to Atlantic City once. My grandparents took me when I turned 21, and I have not been to Atlantic City since. Yeah, sleep paralysis is really, I mean, I haven't had it that often, but oh my god. It's that feeling of I'm going to wake up, and you feel it because I sleep with an eye mask on a lot of times. So it's like, I was going through this motion of I peeled the eye mask off, I'm awake, only to realize I'm still dead asleep in the dream, trying to wake up and trying to wake up. And ugh. One time I actually passed out in a dream and then had an out of body experience in the dream because I was standing there watching my body on the floor and was like, wow, that's fucked up. Oh, that's good. Oh, yeah, the Fallen Angels. Maybe I should make that one again. I haven't made that in a while. Yeah, it's meditation, like for me, like I have to be a little drowsy because it also depends where I'm at in the Adderall extended release cycle. Although I sleep really much better when I take my Adderall. Unless there's no sleep paralysis demon, though. Yeah, I mean, sleep paralysis can happen for a number of reasons. Um, it's just annoying. I'm always like, I just want to wake up. You're just stuck in this loop. Yeah, I believe that, Eddie. I mean, the whole probability thing of it. I mean, it's just I look at some things where there's an incalculable amount of variables that go into it, which just makes it really hard to um Yeah, there were times where it's like I was being attacked by something in a sleep paralysis state. And that's when I learned I still know the Lord's Prayer in Latin. Um, Apparently, I did a sleep exorcism on whatever was attacking me. Um, I finally woke up. The best thing to do if you feel like you're under any kind of psychic attack or spiritual attack like that, after sleep paralysis, as soon as you wake up, get in the bath or shower. The water really disrupts that energy. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things that can cause sleep paralysis. Like, I mean, some different entheogenic herbs can cause it. Like when I do my ketamine treatments, um, the only way I can describe how my body feels is that I have no weight and no structure and no bones. Like you just have this weird floaty weightlessness to you, which is very peculiar. Um, and one, it comes like even after you're done doing the ketamine, it still takes like about an hour or so to really fully be back into your body in which you don't feel like a floaty cloud. Oh, Corey, Jesus Christ, cats, why are we throwing up everywhere? Bubba, are you okay? Oh, Bubby. All right, give me 1 sec. Because said barf is in. Well, we're just gonna cover it with a sock because I've personally stepped in enough. Why barf in one place when you can barf in three? I've stepped in enough cat barf today. What did you guys get into that you're barfing everywhere? Hmm? Did we get into something we shouldn't have been? You okay, Bubba? Or are we gonna barf in another spot? Sorry. Have I worked dream magic with Nibos? No, I have not. Hi, Moon. What's up? And we have a Moon again. You feeling okay, Corey? You don't barf. Moon usually is the one who barfs. That's because all I eat is plants and plastic. The tentacle thing show me. Yeah, I don't know. Well, Corey's got some dental gum issues right now, so um, I don't know if that's what's causing it or the myriad of random human food he eats. Yes, I'm looking at you, buddy, who needed to have some ham for my salad earlier. Yeah, I don't know if Moon actually eats cat food. I have discovered she likes plastic that anything that's sweet, tarty, or fruity comes in. So, like, if you have like a bag of Skittles, she is just all over that. Like, she'll go and pull wrappers out of the trash can that have that like fruity smell on it in plastic. I'm like, I don't know. But they be barfing today for some reason. And now I have to remember I heard barf earlier, and oh, there it is, right in my foot track. Um, yeah, it's cats. But I just have to keep an eye on Corey because of like he's got some issues with his teeth right now. I have an appointment for him. It's just I could not find anywhere to see him. Like I made an appointment, and it's still like 3 weeks away. I made it I took him to like the emergency vet, and he's okay for now. but like he needs like teeth cleaning and some extractions. But I just have to keep a eye on it to make sure, he doesn't have an infection or an abscess or anything like that. Because I mean, this might just be a one-off. I ate something stupid and I'm gonna barf thing. But if it's like related to his TT issues, I have to keep an eye on it. My poor little boo. What's up, Moon? What are you thinking about doing, Moon? Oh, nothing? She was suspiciously eyeing up a bunch of oracle decks on the shelf, which then lead to my Dark Goddess altar, and I'm like, don't you jump up there. I have no idea what time it is. What time is it? Oh, it's almost midnight. Eddie says, I've been going since 4 a.m. and I just saw the time. I think I'm going to pass out now. Night, everyone. Good night, Eddie. Thanks for popping by. Yeah, that happens sometimes, Alyssa. Like, I mean, I sometimes I miss more than I hit when it comes to meditation or I mean, even after years of doing it, there's just times where, for whatever reason, it's just like, nope, doesn't work. Huh, okay. Oh, well, yeah, it's 5 a.m. in the UK. Yeah, I'm going to try to do around the same time on Saturdays, most Saturdays. There's one I may miss, but I'm not sure the date yet. I think it's like in the my niece has a dance recital and they're up in the Poconos and it's just a lot of, it's long. I'm like, it's like a 4-hour recital. What's with the entire dance troupe thing? And everything from kids who are like 3 or 4 years old to kids who are graduating high school. Thanks, Bonnie. Yes, don't forget to like and subscribe. What was I gonna say? But yeah, so she has a dance recital coming up, and the hardest part of it for me is having to wear shoes inside for 4 hours. That really annoyed me last year. I was like, I'm tired of wearing shoes. Yeah, I don't know if I'm logging just yet. I think I slept. Well, I woke up. I think I sleep in stages right now. Like I think I wake up I think I woke up around 10 to throw my mail out on the outgoing mail on the porch so the mailman could get it or mail carrier could get it. And then I went back to sleep until noon or 1 maybe. But yeah, this has been fun. I've been enjoying doing excuse me. I've been enjoying doing live streams again, and I'm trying to stick with it, even when I'm like, I don't want to. I just want to lay on the couch and watch TV. At least for a couple hours. Last week I had a couple glitches. My Wi-Fi went down like 20 minutes into it, and I had to like start a new stream. It was very annoying. Have I ever met the hag, the old witch archetype? She would morph into others and trick them to eat me. I don't know if that particular kind I have run into. that I'm aware of. Because a lot of these things have come up for me in dreams, like over the years, when I just was not even aware of what they are, or what they were, or what they are. Can I get into? Can I grab this out? I don't think that's the one that has the drawings in it. No. Sorry, I'm reaching to the bottom shelf, which has like the footstool smashed up against it, to try to find something I'm looking for. Yeah, so I did one of the videos earlier, maybe last month, about sort of my earlier stuff, that looks. I kept all these journals and weird shit that I wrote back in the 90s. But like sometimes I would draw things or I'd write things, and then looking at it now, I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's Abaddon, there's Lucifer, there's stuff like that. So I'm probably gonna do another video because there's a couple more of them that I wanted to go through. It's just one of the books is really long, so I have to kind of figure out how to break it up. I think this is this the one? No. I think there's, or maybe, is it? I don't know. There's one that I wrote somewhere and down here in the reaches of underneath on the bottom shelf. Like a book of prophecy I wrote in like 1998. Do I do consultations for? Yes, I do. I do like astral, well, I call it astral divination, but it's a lot of like, it's like spirit channeling or some astral work, and communication with that. Oracle card readings, stuff like that. But yeah, the astral divination and channeling, or else I just do straight up consultations, in which we can kind of figure out. Ouch. Yeah, I mean that makes sense, Eddie. The sort of sleep hag thing. I mean, I think that's something that comes up in a lot of different lore. I feel like there's a lot in like Eastern European lore that's about that. I mean, Baba Yaga is one that kind of, in the lore that was meant to scare people and deter them, kind of comes up in that sort of hag, the old lady hag kind of thing. But I feel like I should know about Baba Yaga. Maybe I'll explore that more. It's on my big list of things to do because I'm Eastern European. So I probably will log a little bit shortly. I get uncomfortable if I literally, regardless of what I'm doing, I get uncomfortable after a period of time, because whether I'm sitting, standing, laying down, walking, whatever, I just kind of start. Yeah, the Madame Palmita book I was looking at, about Baba Yaga. That's the one I was looking at. I do have a book on Slavic witchcraft, and I know she's mentioned in there, and probably in the Bohemian magic book I have as well. Not sure about the Russian black magic. I didn't see that in there. I have a lot of books, and someday I will be like, yay, I've read them all. But probably not. But I came, I think outside of my mom, like my brother, Jesus Christ, he reads at least 100 books a year. My dad always, whatever his type of like hyperfixation is, he has all the books on it. My grandmother on my mom's side, like she was reading 2 books a week up until she died in her 90s. I'm trying to think. It sounds maybe, I mean, she's depicted in a lot of different ways, but usually she kind of has that like feral bog witch kind of, hag. Sure, yeah. Yeah, you can definitely reach out to me. Alyssa, that would be great. Let's see what I can do for you. It's one of those things that's always funny. Like, I was talking about earlier about trusting your intuition. Like, I even now still sometimes, like every time I do like a reading or channeling or past life or divination or past life reading for a client, I'm always like, I'm clearly just talking out my ass and full of shit. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Why this is clearly just nonsense until like, oh my fucking god, that's so spot on. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I think it's just the imposter syndrome. That's, yeah, I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, Bonnie, I feel like the that sort of, the witch in the woods probably from Snow White was, or even what's it, Hansel and Gretel, is probably based on Baba Yaga. I've heard of Sheila Nagig. I think it came up. Did it come up recently in may have come up in a oracle reading I did for someone, but I can't remember what about her. What if you don't mind sharing, what was controversial about her? Well, I mean, I'm not sure where you're at, Learning Universe, but it's currently midnight here for me on the East Coast in the US. So it's the sort of Insomniac on the East Coast feed, and late night, in the rest of the US. Very early morning in Europe. And I don't know on the other side of the world. It's probably tomorrow already in Australia. Yeah, I am not a fan of waking up early, and I try to avoid it as much as all costs. I actually get annoyed if I naturally wake up early. I force myself to go back to sleep. I'm like, no, this is just unacceptable. There are single digit numbers on the clock. We do not wake up this early. Oh, interesting, Seti. Sheila was depicted with her legs wide open, often as a gargoyle on churches. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's what I thought. Is that she was from the Celtic or Gaelic or Welsh or something like that. Well, I mean, you have to realize a lot of the pagan deities were demonized and bastardized through the rise of Christianity. Okay, so it's 9:30 in the morning where you're at. Yeah. So yeah, that's probably about 9 hours ahead. Probably sort of that from here. I would say kind of Middle East, India, West Asia, maybe, or Africa, depending on where on the longitude and latitude you would be. I know parts of India are about 9 hours ahead here from here. Philippines. Oh, you're in the Philippines, yeah. Well, it must be a good time of night night for me to do a stream that I'm catching an international audience here for at all the weird times of day. Because it's like most of the live streams that are on. I mean, some people do daytime ones, like daytime in the US ones, but like most of them are in the like start in the 8 to 10 p.m. range here. Yeah, Brazil kind of juts out a little more into the Atlantic than the U.S. does. Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we know as witchcraft lore and archetype stuff, a lot of it does come from, church records or and stuff from like the witchcraft trials during the burning times and the Spanish Inquisition. A lot of stuff is from forced confessions. That's just um, broadcasted as fact. And then, not to forget the Malleus Maleficarum, which was just basically like, I don't know, the misogynistic incel dude of like the 1400s wrote a book on how much women suck. And they're all witches and should die. That's basically it. But yeah, so a lot of the stuff, like especially, like I always get, the question, about flying ointments. Well, didn't witches used to put the ointments on their, the handle of their broom and then ride it in a sexual manner? I'm like, well, that's one way you're going to get splinters in places you don't want them. So probably not true. So a lot of those things that fall into historic lore or canon about stuff came from dubious sources at best. Is a forced confession the truth? Seti asked, do you think we could ever go back to the burning times, or is that fortunately in our past? I hope so, but it also depends on what part of your world you're in, because I mean, I have clients all over the world. In some places I have to send people things with entirely, like, I have to send them a code sheet via like email, and then send them things with completely different labels on them because it's illegal to practice witchcraft where they are. So it depends on where you're at. I mean, there's countries in the world where you could be killed for practicing witchcraft right now. In Europe, and I don't see, Europe doesn't seem to be as extreme in the way the United States is. In the United States, possibly, but I don't think it would happen elsewhere. And I would certainly hope that if we reach that precipice again, given the globally connected world, that someone would step in and be like, hey, hold up. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were so many reasons for the the Inquisition and things like that, beyond just, they just picked a easy target basically, and went from there. Yeah, like, I mean, it really depends on where you're at. Like, it's, and even in the United States, like, I mean, I'm in a big city, no one gives a flying what I do. I moved to a small town, it might be an entirely different story. Also, it depends on if you're in a small town in California versus a small town in Alabama. Yeah, I mean, the word daemon originally, well, angel meant messenger and daemon meant teacher. So, but again, it was, corrupted in, uh, with the rise of, especially the Holy Roman Empire and Roman Catholicism. Yeah, I mean, I don't, uh, you know, yeah, I agree with that. If Jesus came back, he'd be accused of being the devil. He'd be accused of being the devil, or he'd be, a yet a number XYZ cult member. who goes down in a blaze of glory, glory and literal blaze. But we tend not to take people like that seriously. So which makes, like, I'm sorry, like, I'm not a political person, but it's like the people who think like Trump is Jesus or the Antichrist or whatever. I'm just like, no, he's just a dude. But it's the people that worship Trump like he's the second coming of Christ. I'm like, no. Because I sure as shit don't think Biden is anything of that. Yeah, it's oh, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, we all have, different experiences. Like, I mean, I went to Catholic high school, so I mean, I was I would just like sit in the hallway reading the Necronomicon just to like scare the other students because it just made me laugh. And they already thought I was a satanic druggy slut anyway, so mission accomplished. I'm kind of half tempted to like go to my 30th high school reunion because I went to Catholic school, which is this year. Just be like, hey, it's your favorite, satanic druggy slut. Still all that. I've always just been a gigantic pissant when it comes to those things, so yeah, I mean, the religion is. I mean, the one thing I believe in separation of church and state. It's a lie. We don't have that. It's. I mean, religious, stuff has, infiltrated school, education systems. It's infiltrated, you know, businesses, corporate structures, the government, politics, and all that. So it's like it's almost like I don't know. Religion's almost just like a corporation in and of itself, or a political lobby or something. Yeah, I mean, there's a saying that magic is just science that has yet to be proven. I mean, I get that. Like, you have the impression that Lilith would want her children to proudly worship her, like no hiding. I mean, more than anything, she wants you to be safe. So, not putting yourself out there in a way that would get you cause you harm. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that, Seti. You've seen a lot of Native Americans making videos lately. I hope the atrocities done to them and the pagans are one day acknowledged and corrected. We have to rise above churchianity. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's it's abhorrent. It really is. It's just I don't know. That's true. I mean, I have that too. But I mean, there's a whole spectrum of people who are like a lot of people who practice some of the African traditional religions or even hoodoo have influences from Christianity in them. Like when I was in grad school, one of my fellow artists in my cohort was from Nigeria, and his paintings, they were all spiritual, but it was the most beautiful melding of African traditional spirituality, but with the Christian influence in it. And his work was stunning. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it is the polarity we're being fed, and honestly, a lot of these people who are, talking points for the Christo-fascist, people, they're pandering to the masses, and most of them don't believe their own bullshit. I would be willing to bet. They're just scoring brownie points with their target. They're marketing to their target audience. Because how many of them get caught with drugs and prostitutes and gay prostitutes and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera down the line. I'm like, So tell me how you're a fundamentalist Christian. Well, it depends on. So with Catholicism, there's a lot of different. Well, there's two. So when the Holy Roman Empire fell, Roman Catholicism took the whole of Western Europe. Eastern Europe and into Russia what was called Byzantine Catholic or Greek Catholic, not Greek Orthodox, but it was a different. Byzantine Catholicism is still Catholicism, but it's very different from Roman Catholicism. Like my grandparents, my family went to Byzantine. I mean, I was literally baptized into the Byzantine rite. My family just converted to Roman Catholicism when we moved to Georgia and didn't have any options of Ukrainian churches there. So, but like I look at them as entirely different entities altogether. But most people don't know that there's a difference between Roman Catholicism and like the Byzantine or Greek Catholicism. And the Byzantine and Greek Catholicism have way more awesome contemporary churches. Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, you have the big business mega church thing, where you've got like your Joel Osteen kind of people that came out of the tele-evangelist tropes of the 80s and 90s and stuff like that. But, if you lived through the televangelist crap of the 80s and 90s of, the Jimmy Swaggarts and Jim and Tammy Faye Baker and all those people, I mean, they were frauds, shilling people out of their money and, caught with prostitutes, having affairs and all this stuff. But they were, these big, religious leaders. We've learned nothing. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's a lot of, especially like, there's a lot of similarities with things. I think a lot of times we tend to define ourselves by our differences than our similarities. And so, I mean, I agree with that. Like, I mean, like for me, when I started learning about Slavic witchcraft, I was like, holy crap, this makes my grandmother makes so much more sense. But it was so much of it had been syncretized by Christianity and Catholicism that the meanings of the folk magic got lost, but they were still folded into everyday life. I am really not all that familiar with Kabbalistic dogmas, so there's not much I can contribute on that. So let's ask. I used to be Roman Catholic, then converted to Christian. Do I need to leave that behind when going into the occult? I mean, it's really up to you. Some people do unbaptism rituals. There's a wide array of ways that that can be done. I'm actually working on something with that because the spirits told me to. I think it was last night. So I woke up this morning, I'm like, unbaptism, write down a note for yourself. So yeah, I mean, it's really up to you. Christianity has dominated the world. Even atheists find themselves believing their concepts of demons, for example. I don't think it should be the default. They say winners tell the, yeah, I mean, history is told by the winners. That's really kind of true. But it's the thing with Christianity is it's really lost its foothold, and it's desperately trying not to go the way of the dinosaurs. But it's in its late stages of just failing, especially with the younger generations. I mean, as the boomers kind of the silent generation and boomers kind of start shuffling off the mortal coil, the younger generations are not into Christianity as much. I mean, unless they've been like completely indoctrinated by their families. But I mean, like, demographic studies have shown that like the millennials and Gen Z are not into religion the same way that other generations were. Yeah. I mean, a lot of things. It's like it's finding, Alyssa. It's finding your own path and what works for you. Like some people feel like they need to go through the symbolic um, unbaptism to remove that mark from them. I think it's healing if you've experienced any form of religious trauma. But yeah, like Seti said, there are Christian witches. Yeah, there's people who work a lot within the hoodoo spectrum. There's a lot of saints that were syncretized that are symbolic of the Orishas and maybe some of the voodoo Loa. And also that happened in like one of the weird parallels between Slavic witchcraft and hoodoo, which are completely like not even, you know, related, is that the same kind of thing happened within the Slavic folk magic, is that a lot of the gods and goddesses of that region became syncretized with Catholic saints. So when you see centers of magic, mainly African American ones full of Christians, can you explain? Yes, that is an offshoot of the history of colonization. So when the Europeans came in and settled in, or took over new or enslaved people in that case, a lot of times it was either illegal, like they could be murdered or beaten for, or arrested for practicing their, their traditional religions. So they kind of had to do it in secret. So I'm trying to remember if there's an example off the top of it. So Saint, so and so is a stand-in for, this particular Orisha from the Yoruba. So you appear like you're working, the Christian magic, with the saints, but you're really working with your thing. So you're kind of disguise. A lot of it was meant to disguise the work that they were doing. At least that's my understanding of it. And there was a lot of conversion of people as they came, as they were brought here or whatnot. There's a lot of, I mean, Christian missionaries have gone all over the world and converted people. So there's just a melding of some of that it got integrated with the traditional religions in that sense. I hope that makes sense. I'm trying to give you it in the nutshell of it. So it just gets kind of, I'm trying to think of a good word to describe it. Yeah, it is sort of, the history of colonization and oppression and slavery in that particular case. That is why you see a mix of like the Christianity within the African traditional or Afro-Cuban or Caribbean or Afro-Cuban, and even into some of the South American areas, into those indigenous cultures. Now in America, because of the genocide against the indigenous persons and all of the oppression that took place over centuries, it was actually until 1978, it was actually illegal in the United States for indigenous people to practice their traditional sacred religions. They could be jailed or murdered for it. That's in my lifetime. So it was illegal for them to practice. It's not that I'm sure they're like, oh, well, I guess we're not practicing our religions out. They found ways to do it without being noticed. Yeah, that's probably true, Seti. Well, I mean, Anton Xander LaVey, like the quote from the Church of Satan on that, I was like, well, Satan, Satan keeps them in business. Because if it weren't for the evil, witchcraft and Satanism and all this stuff, there would be no fear to instill upon the masses. Yes, actually, the SETI asked about the Dalai Lama controversy. I actually read a very interesting, because I wasn't sure what to think of it at first. Because there's part of me that's kind of like, well, spiritual leaders are kind of creepy anyways and do shit like that. But what it came out, or what this person had said, so it was a gross misunderstanding of Tibetan cultural practices and the imposing of Western views, coupled with the, cancel culture happy, bullshit that we deal with, imposed upon that. So in Tibetan culture, showing your tongue is a sign of respect. Pressing your forehead to another person's forehead is a tender, it's a not sexual love, or it's it's the way they communicate sacred love in that sense. And the translation of suck my tongue is just one of those very poor literal translations of something, where what the Tibetan meaning of those words were entirely different, but people saw it as, oh my God, creepy pedo. And, everyone ran with their torches and pitchforks. So that's just kind of what I'm going for there. Where I'm leaning on that is that bad translation, the Western world not understanding Tibetan culture, and, the whisper down the alley method of cancel communication of purple monkey dishwasher's bad, cancel them, no. So as living here, you notice that history is just a rhetoric of dogmatists. Deep down, everyone just wants results. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The only religion I'm aware of that has no dogma is Shintoism. That's the traditional religion of Japan. Yeah, I mean, it's what I've never understood is why the proselytization and conversion that Christianity has thrust upon the world, Yeah, you'll find that gets easier over time, Alyssa. That like even for me when I first started out, is that um it takes time to build that communication and that relationship. It's kind of like think about like meeting a new friend or starting a new job or anything like that. Do you know everyone perfectly on day one or within the first week or first month or anything like that? So it builds over time. Study says one last question before bed. Yeah, I'm probably gonna log soon myself because I'm getting uncomfortable sitting here. Do you have favorite magicians from history? That is a good question. Hmm. I mean, there's different people that have contributed different things, and I appreciate their contributions for what they are. Like, I mean, I like Aleister Crowley in theory. I just don't practice magic kind of based on his stuff in that sense. But you know, I enjoy understanding that aspect of it. I mean, the same thing with Anton Xander LaVey. Like, you know, I appreciate what the Church of Satan did in its time. I think there's some of what they read. I'm just like, ugh, eye roll. And you know, some of the stuff, especially back in like the 80s when it was like Xena LaVey Shrek wasn't bad, but her husband Nicholas Shrek, he was just like some of the stuff he said. I was just like, oh my god, just ugh, you're awful human. Yeah, I mean, you have to do what is best for you and to keep yourself safe and out of harm's way. You know, I'm not gonna go riding through Mississippi with, you know, a satanic flag, you know, trailing off my car because yeah, I'm sure someone will happily unalive me for that. Um, could I do it here? Probably, you know, no one would notice, but you know, it's just doing what you need to do to survive. And on that note, I am going to log off because my ass hurts. I'm just sitting uncomfortably and whatnot. Yeah, I do like the Thoth Tarot deck a lot. That's probably one of my favorite decks to use. So yeah, I mean, out of the Crowley stuff, that's probably the one thing I use the most. But I don't really like. I'm not really into like Thelema or OTO stuff or things like that. Yes, I'll be doing these regularly, probably around the same time on Saturdays, unless something comes up. But I'll be dropping some new content soon, probably this week on my channel. But thank you guys for watching. I loved hanging out, and everyone had great questions. So yeah, I am going to get comfy and grab a I think I need to have a late night dinner at 12:40. So because I ate around 4 or 5, but I hadn't eaten previous to that, so I need to have some dinner at 2 o'clock in the morning. So, anyways, have a great one, guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. And stream.